What's up guys, Mac here. I was thinking about what to do for my second video, and I decided that I had to dedicate it to my favorite series, that being Dragon Quest. These games are just comfort food in game form. It's like I just have come home whenever I boot one up. And with Dragon Quest 12 and the 3 remake coming out, I had to rank my top 10 mainline games. Since there's no way to play 10, I'm not going to have it on here, so it's just going to be exactly 10 games, 1 through 11, not 10. Anyways, let's get started with... First up at number 10 is Dragon Quest 6. So this game isn't even close to bad, but I ranked it the lowest for a reason. It's one of only 2 Dragon Quest games on the list that I didn't finish. The other game was due to a certain reason I'll get into, but this game just hit me at the wrong time. The main issue is the awful encounter rate. It's not fixed in the remake, and you just get lost, and then you're getting hit with the random encounters. I couldn't do it after a while. I remember unlocking the job classes, and then I got the ship, and I just kept sailing around the world, getting into battles. I dropped it. I couldn't do it. But I do think there are good things about this game. Like, the party is very well made. I like the party overall. And the idea of the dream world is pretty interesting. I'll definitely have to go back to this one someday and beat it when I'm in the right headspace for a fuck ton of random encounters. But for now, I'm going to keep it at the bottom. As for which version you should play, I played the mobile version. That could have contributed to why I dropped it, but I don't think so, because I like the mobile versions of most Dragon Quest games. So yeah, I think that version's probably the best, but the DS version is also equally as good. Next up at number 9, we got Dragon Quest 7. Now, I could already see the comments, because this is a controversial choice right here. A lot of people who beat 7 just gush about it and say it's like a top 3 Dragon Quest, but I have not beaten it. And the reason I have not beaten it is due to it being sadistically long. The main story alone will easily take you like 70 to 80 hours, and completionists are buckling in for a good 150-hour long game here. And that's the remake speed, which actually sped up the game a lot and cut things out. So the original journey was ridiculous. It has such a long script, and it's a natural start to finish playtime of over 100 hours. Due to this, I actually never finished it. I got about halfway, but I just dropped it for other games. I want to go back to it and finish it, but I just don't know with that long playtime. What I did play was fun, and the story was pretty good. Like, I remember getting moved to tears at one point, but the time investment is brutally demanding. I played the 3DS version, which I recommend, for no other reason than you change costumes when you change job classes. I know that's a really small reason for some people, but I love that shit. And there's a small amount of cut content in the 3DS version, so if you really have to get the full experience, then I guess you would have to go for the PS1 version. But I think that version is aged poorly, so it's up to you. Okay, at number 8 we have Dragon Quest 1. Here it is, guys, the JRPG. Honestly, not a bad start for the genre. I think the reason I have a positive view of this game is that it's over before it gets tedious. It clocks in at about 5 hours. If you know what you're doing, you could even get lower than that. It's just a simple adventure of the hero rescuing a princess. But it has some cool moments in it that make it worth playing. I love the part where you have to carry the princess back to the castle, and the fact that the game lets you join up with the main villain is very surprising. Combat's simple, basically heal and do damage, but the status effects that you can inflict are a nice risk for reward option. Main complaints come from the terrible battle music. It'll just grate on you instantly. from the inherently simple nature of the game. I definitely recommend it to any fans of JRPGs, just for legacy. But yeah, it's overall just a very simple game. I played the Game Boy Color version, but honestly, it doesn't really compare to the SNES version. You'd want to go for that one. Okay. Coming in at number 7, we have Dragon Quest II. A lot of people seem to think this is the worst one, but I disagree. Dragon Quest II added a party system to the combat, so as opposed to just playing with one character, you now have 3. That consists of the hero, who is a powerful fighter with high strength and HP, the princess, who can cast powerful magic, and the prince, who will probably die a lot because he sucks. The game has a much larger journey, being triple the length of the first game, and something this game gets shit on a lot for is the final area, which is just an insane difficulty spike that filtered a lot of players. I personally didn't struggle that much. You can kill metal slimes for a lot of XP, and the Sword of Destruction is a cursed item that can make you lose turns, but then it hits like a truck when it lands. Using that against the final boss helped a ton. Overall, just a complete improvement from 1 in every aspect, even having some of the best overworld themes in the series. A Lonely Youth is an extremely beautiful and somber track for an overworld theme. But quickly gets replaced once you get the full party with Traveling with Friends, which is just a catchy tune. Overall, just a good time if you can deal with the extremely retro RPG clunk. I played the Game Boy Color version, but the SNES, once again, is the best version, probably. Coming in at number 6, we have Dragon Quest III. I didn't want this list to just be too linear, but the games really do just improve off the last one for the most part. Dragon Quest III was a masterpiece at the time it launched, selling millions of copies and starting a phenomenon. Kids would get beaten up for their copies outside the gaming stores. This was some serious shit. I could see why as well, because I would beat up a kid for this game. It follows the hero Erdrick, who we heard about in the previous 2 games, making this a prequel. Erdrick is sent on a journey to find out what happened to his father and defeat the demon lord Baramos. On his journey, he can recruit a party of player-made characters with multiple cool classes. Unfortunately, the physical attackers are kind of boring, so I always go Mage, Priest, and Goof Off, who's a total joke class but can become a Sage earlier than any other class, and Sages kick ass, being the only job you can't get right away and you unlock later. Once you get a party, you go out into the world, and man, is it a journey. There are some good twists in this game, and they really shocked me when I first saw them. And it's way too good for how early this game came out. I also love the music. Adventure is without a doubt the best song in the series. And the final boss theme, Heroes Challenge, is way too epic. My issues mostly come from the fact that your party is extremely dull, since they're all blank slates. Also, while the story is good, I do think it has too few actual story moments for how long the game is, mostly being about the journey. A masterpiece at the time that is still great today. I played this on the Game Boy Color, but honestly, I recommend waiting for the remake. That's going to just be incredible. If you can't wait that long, then try the SNES version, like the previous two games. Right at the middle, we have Dragon Quest IX at number 5. Dragon Quest IX with 4 friends in co-op would probably put it at like number 2 on this list, but since it's extremely likely you'll find 4 friends with this game and DSs who are willing to meet up, I'll put it at 5. Square Enix, you know what to do. This game has an epic story involving strong biblical themes. You're an angel who fell from heaven after a calamity and are tasked with gathering holy fruits that fell from the Tree of Life Yggdrasil. This leads to a journey that will take you many places, and honestly, it's great. There are multiple extremely dark storylines, and I remember being moved to tears at points. The final boss is the best in the series, and the episodic nature of the story actually worked well. The main complaint is the same as Dragon Quest III, where the party are all blank slates. I personally strongly dislike stories that do this, and it makes it hard to get invested. The gameplay here is some of the best, with you not only being able to choose classes, but also having each class have multiple skill points you can pour into it to learn different skills and master different weapons. There are also advanced classes that are unfortunately tied behind some pretty tedious quests, but if you can get these, they're super fun to use. The music in 9 is even better than 3, with one of the best tracks in the series, The Observatory. More good tracks are the Overworld theme, Hills and Meadows, Sandy's theme, and the final boss theme, which just rules. I play Dragon Quest IX on the DS, and so will you. That's the only platform it's on. At number 4, we have, Dragon Quest IV. We're really getting into the masterpieces of the series now. Dragon Quest IV is phenomenal. I still don't think I've ever seen a game pull off the story structure that this game has. You start with a short segment with the hero, then go into 4 different stories with the different characters before returning to the hero and his journey. The hero then encounters all those characters from the 4 different stories who then join his party. This really fleshes out the cast in a way no other game up to this point had, and it's a pretty damn good cast. Kirill and Elena are cute as fuck, and Torneko is an extremely endearing character, having a chapter all about opening a shop of his dreams to support his family. The story really peaks with Sorrow the Manslayer, however. This Chad is the best villain in the series, easy. You honestly can't hate him, as you see how humans can be much worse than even the monsters. He has a real investment in what he's doing rather than just being evil for the sake of being evil. It's great. Gameplay for Dragon Quest IV is pretty simple, especially in the NES version, where you only control the hero in battle. Don't play that version. More on that later. It's a traditional RPG through and through, with little customization beyond who is in your party. I will say that it is nice that each character brings something different to the table. The hero is a nice jack of all trades, Ragnar is a tank, Elena is the best physical attacker, Kirill is a healer with good defense and physical attack, Boria is a mage with some great support magic, Torneko is funny, Mina is a better healer with better spells than Kirill, but is very frail, And then Maya is the most powerful mage, but with less support magic than Boria. And the last party member is just overpowered as shit and does all this, but I won't spoil who that is. The variety in party members makes it fun to choose who to use. I went Hero, Kirill, Boria, and Maya, which worked extremely well for me. Beyond combat, there's some pretty interesting dungeons, doing a lot more than the 3 previous games. The soundtrack for Dragon Quest IV also has a good amount of bangers. The battle theme starts slow, but becomes extremely triumphant halfway through. There are multiple world map themes for all the characters, and then when it all comes together, it becomes Wagon Wheels March, which just feels incredible. If you want to play Dragon Quest IV, it's a little complicated. It's the best looking and sounding on the PS1, but the PS1 version is in Japanese, with no fan translation, as far as I'm aware. The DS version is similar to the PS1, but with worse visuals and sound. It's also missing party chat, which makes me want to stay clear of that version. In an extremely bizarre twist, the best version of this game is the mobile port, which looks better than the DS, and it has the party chat. Coming in at number 3, we have Dragon Quest V. Now, 4 is a fantastic game in the series, but the gap between 4 and 5 is massive in my opinion. 5 has one of the most personal and emotional stories ever told through a video game. Your hero will go through multiple stages of his life, starting as a kid, then a young adult, then a family man. Some of the twists in this game still have me reeling just thinking about them, and once I finished the game, it really solidified Dragon Quest as my favorite game series of all time. I'm being purposely vague, since pretty much any details are spoilers for a game you want to be as blind in as possible. Dragon Quest V has some very interesting gameplay as well. The actual combat is still very similar to the past 4 games, but with the addition of monster recruitment. Yeah, that's right, you can have up to 72 unique monsters in your party. This game did Pokemon back on the Super Nintendo, and is directly stated as an influence for that series. Only gripe I have with the monster collection is that it's absolute RNG. There are no Pokeballs, and you just kill monsters and hope they randomly join. I don't remember if there were ways to manipulate the RNG, but it will absolutely suck if you want a specific monster, or just never hardly get any recruits. However, I personally got pretty lucky, so I had a very positive experience with the system. Unfortunately, near the end of the game, you will likely be only using 1 or even no monsters on your party, but for the most of the game they are extremely fun and useful. The dungeons, once again, were pretty fun to explore, though I don't know if I would say that they're better than 4, just better than most DQ games. The soundtrack is one that will almost certainly make you feel an intense variety of emotions. The battle theme, Violent Enemies, is an adrenaline-pumping and honestly my favorite in the series. Tower of Death is a beautiful dungeon theme, and maybe a bit too peaceful for the death traps you will be in. Melody of Love and Make Me Feel Sad, yes, really, are some of the most emotional songs in the series that really play at incredible moments. final boss theme, Satan, again, yes, really, has an awesome intro. These drums that really tell you that this is it. You're fighting the incarnation of all evil. I love every song on this soundtrack, man. When discussing versions to play, this is also interesting. I would say it's almost a tie between the PS2 and DS versions. PS2 version is Japan only, but has an English patch, and it's the version that I played. It's in full 3D, has the orchestral soundtrack, and it's more cinematic cutscenes, so it sounds definitive, right? Well, the DS and mobile version has more content like more monsters, a new romance option, less random battles, and improved monster recruitment rate. So really, both have strengths, but I would still say to go for the PS2 version, as the music and story are done the most justice here, which is really what matters for me with Dragon Quest V. Coming in at number 2, we have Dragon Quest VIII. Now this was my first Dragon Quest game, and it's honestly one of my favorite games of all time. This game is so good that I not only immediately bought 7, which was also on the 3DS, but also bought Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3 on the Game Boy Color, as well as 4 on the DS. This led me immediately into a deep dive of the series, and for good reason. Dragon Quest VIII may be one of, if not the most charming game ever made. All the party members are written extremely well. There are only 4 in the original and 6 in the 3DS version. Every single one of them I would die for. Yengus is a fantastic twist on your typical first bro type party member. He's a bandit in his 30s who nearly fell to his death after trying to rob the hero. However, despite that, our hero saves him. Moved by this, Yengus then pledges his life to the Gov and will follow him to the ends of the earth. The story here is really next level, and what surprised me, especially as a newcomer to the series at this point, was just how dark and tragic it got. There are many, many characters that will die throughout the story, and it always has some sort of weight. Not only because the death of these characters advances the goals of the main villain, but also because a lot of them are genuinely likable characters. I remember the moment I fell in love with this game was when you find out that a kingdom is draped in all black, and that the king's wife has died, and he's fallen into a deep depression. You then go out and find this elf dude who's able to show people memories of their dead loved ones. You take him to the king, and what plays then is honestly just beautiful.
What is this? A dream? An illusion? No. No. I remember this. You.
Is wrong. What is wrong?
Sasha. I've missed you so. These 2 years I've thought of nothing but you. Ever since you passed away.
You get the memories of the queen playing out in front of the king, but put together in a way that tells him a message about death and how to move on.
A puppy, you say? What do you think? No doubt you've already thought of a good name for it.
It's a secret.
Why? If you've thought of a name, then I'm sure it's splendid. Tell me.
Surely you have a suggestion too. A name for this puppy.
But I'm sure yours...
Shush now, Pavan. I think any name you came up with would be simply perfect. My dear king, you're a wise and kind man. You should follow your own instincts. I was planning to use the name you thought of. That's all I'd decided.
Yes. She was always like that. Always giving me so much encouragement. Sasha, why?
It's so creative and emotional, it really shows one of the main appeals of Dragon Quest, and that is for its stories to just be able to completely sweep you off your feet when you least expect it. The combat is also some of the best in the series. It mostly relies on the tension system, where you can build up strength for multiple turns, then unleash it in a large burst of damage on enemies. The damage stacks more the more you use it, and there's even a chance that you can hit final tension, which is where you straight up have a Dragon Ball Z style transformation and unleash insane damage. It's a really fun risk and reward system that makes every battle fun and challenging. The customization is also very fun, as each character has multiple skill trees that will give you different buffs and skills. You have 3 different weapon trees, a spell tree, a fisticuffs tree, which for some characters might hide extremely powerful skills despite seeming lackluster at first. If you're playing the PS2 version or the modded 3DS version, you'll get to experience the amazing soundtrack that is Dragon Quest VIII. To a Vast World is honestly legendarily beautiful, and will frequently make you stop exploring just to listen. The battle theme, Warcry, is constantly energetic and whimsical. It's certainly what I expect from a Dragon Quest game. If I had to pick a favorite song, it would probably be Friar's Determination. It's just so intimidating and perfect for a church hiding corruption, and maybe a few dark secrets. If you want to play Dragon Quest VIII, there really is only one option in my opinion. That is the 3DS version with the orchestral soundtrack, added via modding or emulation. The 3DS version adds so much quality of life, as well as 2 great new party members. I really don't think I can recommend the original PS2 version, despite the orchestral soundtrack already being there by default. If you can't mod or emulate, then I guess just suffer the MIDI soundtrack, which isn't unbearable or anything, it just doesn't hold up to the incredible arrangements present with the orchestrated soundtrack.
Time to take the plunge, darling. 3, 2, 1. Puff, puff!
Finally, at number 1, we have Dragon Quest XI. Dragon Quest XI is not only the best Dragon Quest game, but it's the best RPG I've ever played, as well as my favorite game of all time. We in the West hadn't seen a new Dragon Quest since 9 on the DS, so fans were fiending for a new game. To say they delivered would be the understatement of the century. I don't even know where to start with this game. I mean, the party's just awesome. Every character fills a satisfying role in the story as well as the gameplay, and the multiple arc storyline helps with the character building so much. As you get introduced to a lovable cast in the first arc, then the second arc gives each character a moment to shine, and they really take that moment to shine. It's honestly impressive just how much every single character is given one by one. You can tell one of the major goals was to have each character leave an impression on you. The story in general is just one of the most heartfelt and intelligent I've ever experienced. Each town is like an episode of an anime that builds towards these amazing climaxes, and even the smaller arcs don't disappoint. You'll be constantly feeling some sort of emotion, whether it's hype, laughter, or tears, of which 11 does remarkably well. I think all of us who played the game remember the mermaid. The engaging narrative also comes with just an incredible game as well. It's so fun finding a build for each character, then tackling the endlessly creative monsters in your own unique way. For example, I like dual swords on Hero. but if you want more defense, Sword and Shield is great as well. Or go Great Sword for extremely high damage. But don't forget the Great Thunder magic you also have that's pretty viable. Oh, and damn, this boss is kinda hard. Let me just have heroes stand back and heal my party, because you can make him a great healer as well. It's a game where if you engage with the mechanics, you'll be rewarded greatly. The soundtrack in 11 is a little different in that it's more of a greatest hits album for the series, rather than purely original OST. There's still some great original tracks, however, like the battle theme and the world map theme, of which both have very heroic compositions. Ole Silvando is super fun and playful, which fits his character to a T. You'll probably be laughing or smiling when you hear this song. If I had to pick a favorite, it would be the Flying Whale Cetacea. It's not only my favorite song in the game, but one of the most beautiful songs I've heard for any game. If you want to play Dragon Quest XI, I have to recommend, well, any version. They're all extremely quality, and you can't go wrong with any of them. You're going to want to play this one any way you can. Woo! That's finally done. When I was planning this video, I didn't expect it to become such an extremely large project, but I'm glad I made it. Dragon Quest is my favorite series of all time, and if this video got you interested in even one of these fantastic games, then it's done its job. This has been Mac. Video games are awesome, but I'm getting hungry.